back and welcome to Becoming Unstoppable Fitness and Weight Loss. We're your hosts, Lynn and Stephanie. We're just two ordinary girls who were born without skinny jeans. We fought hard to become fit and fierce, and now we're coaches who get to share our passion for health and strength with others.
We started this podcast so we could share the insights and knowledge that have helped many of our clients with an even larger audience. And our dream is to help you become unstoppable.
All right, today is episode 16, and we are so excited to have one of our mutual clients on. This is Gabby. She is our special guest today, and she actually worked out where Stephanie trains at F45 McKinney. She recently became one of my weight loss clients. She went through my 12-week transformation program. You're on week...
I believe I'm entering week 7.
Okay.
Yes.
So she's just a little bit more than halfway through the program, but she has already lost how many pounds?
About 13 pounds.
Damn.
So,
13 pounds. And
exciting.
Gabby's only
Awesome.
4'11", right?
Yeah.
So it's
Big
a
change.
huge
Yeah.
change for you.
Yeah, I'm a tall
Yeah.
4'11".
Yeah.
For sure. So
That's so exciting. And beyond that, she has made a lot of mental changes, mindset shifts that we're going to talk about. So we wanted to have her on, hopefully as an inspiration to all of you, because our message is always, hey, if we can do it, you can do it. But we're going to talk a little bit about
absolutely.
her process and how she went about doing it. And like I said, she's only halfway through, so can't wait to sky's the limit for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a really fun time. Very exciting time, I think, for me. So I've been loving the experience so far. It's probably been the highest point of the year for me. So I just love it. So I'm really excited.
Awesome.
I'm
So
happy.
cool.
So when you say fun and exciting, I mean, I'm sure
Yes.
it's really fun and exciting to see your body change. That's got to be
Definitely.
cool.
Yes. I've just been noticing different things on my body, and I'm just getting more comfortable, which I think for me, I thought I was comfortable with it, but I realized I was still, I still had a lot of setbacks, and a lot of it's, like your mental point and how you're feeling, and but I think, like my mental health is just as important as my physical health. And so how I am giving myself affirmations and self-talk has really been so helpful on this journey. So it's been really life-changing so far, and I'm over halfway, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have worked a lot on your self-communication, and that's been really fun to see you notice those things and make those changes for yourself.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, I was kind of correcting you or giving you examples of how you could correct yourself.
Yes.
And now you're doing it. So, that will become an automatic for you, where that voice in your head is one of, well, you might have the discouraging self-talk come up, but then you can kind of gently guide yourself over to, wait a second, is that really how I want to be talking to myself? And just, gently give yourself another voice, a voice of encouragement. So
Definitely. Just giving myself some grace, I think, is really important, because I know we've had these conversations where I, in the past, maybe am like too hard on myself, and I'm like dwelling on a situation. But at least now I know, okay, well, if I'm dwelling on it, let me just dwell on it for a few minutes and then be done with it and just figure out a solution for it.
yeah.
Instead of just weeping about it all day. So
Yeah, or beating yourself up about it,
yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Just being patient and just giving myself grace, I think, is just the most important thing, because I definitely wasn't doing that before. So
And does grace mean kind of like another chance, rather than, because I know Stephanie and I had to get really specific on some words too, especially the word grace. Like, okay, because we just throw these words around and we're like, but do we know exactly what that means? So for you, What did grace exactly look like?
I think for me is just knowing that I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm, not perfect, and it's okay to start over.
Yeah.
Just because I made a mistake is not the end of the world for me. And just kind of taking a deep breath, and just figuring out a new plan if like the steps that I was doing wasn't working for me. And not getting the results that I want.
Right.
So that's just kind of how I take it in.
Yeah, like your behavior isn't necessarily a reflection of you being good or bad.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, is this getting me where I want to go or not? And I
Yes.
think a lot of people attach their behavior to their self-worth versus, my behavior, my ability to correct myself is really where my self-esteem comes from, right?
Yes.
Not being perfect, not making the right choice all the time.
And who wants to be perfect all the time? Like, that's gonna be exhausting.
boring.
Right? Like,
Right? Well, and you're gonna live so tight.
Yes.
You're not going to like expand it all or give anything a shot because you're just so worried about making mistakes.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So, that was one of your biggest takeaways. Do you have anything else you would like to share?
I would say any progress that I'm making is still progress. Because I think my mindset previously was, well, gosh, I was so focused on completing a goal that I didn't realize the progress that I've made so far, right? And so I just need to take a moment and just remember, okay, but look how far you've come. That's important too, right?
That's a good point.
Because I think sometimes I would just get so caught up in just wanting to win, wanting the outcome, right, to be successful. But I've already had all these small accomplishments that I'm not acknowledging.
Yeah.
Those need to be celebrated.
Exactly.
They may seem small, but they're big because all those little steps add up to the real change you want.
Yes.
And I learned that too. Gotta like celebrate the small wins that seem small, but they're not.
Yes.
Because it keeps you inspired, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keeps you full of positive energy.
I can get to that next step.
Yeah.
Every other little step I make.
That's right. Yes.
What about the lies that you were able to kind of uncover? Were there any lies that things you believed that you proved weren't true?
That I could eat whatever I wanted as long as I worked out.
I didn't know you had that belief.
Yeah, and for the longest, because in my mindset, my version of nutrition was, I'll eat oatmeal every day, I'll have fruit, won't eat any vegetables, might have some protein, and that's enough for me to get the results that I want, right? Terrible. And I didn't get the results that I wanted. And, but I had that mindset for so long, and even it was still recent, before I started your program. And once we started working through it, I realized, oh my goodness, vegetables are actually really good for me. They're healthy. Where have you been all my life? It's crazy. But that was one way of thinking, and then also that being skinny equaled being healthy. Because I kind of was brought up and seen that all my life, and been told that. You're skinny, you're healthy, you're good. Why are you so concerned? Why are you working out so much? You're already thin. But my nutrition was terrible, and I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
So.
Common misconception.
Yeah.
I was just talking about that with another trainer the other day who has a family member, super skinny, just like genetically, but eats garbage all the time and thinks he's healthy. And it's like, that's maybe just because you don't have the extra body fat doesn't mean you're healthy. Like your organs need stuff to survive. We need that protein, we need the micronutrients. and it's not just about the outside all the time. So it's
Yeah.
great that you recognize that, because I feel like it's a very unhealthy mindset among society. I think we're starting to get a little away from that, to just think, oh, you're skinny, you're healthy. That's not always the case. But
Yeah.
that's a huge thing to learn.
Yeah. No, I was definitely very unhealthy. Looking back, you know, because I've been very thin at some points in my life, but my nutrition was garbage.
Yeah.
Like, it just was. So.
And have you noticed that your mental health has changed? Well, all of your beliefs have changed, or
Yes.
many of your beliefs have changed. But how about your emotional health? That's how I wanted to state it. Like your sense of happiness and confidence and peace.
It has improved overall, and I'm, you know, wake up with a more positive mindset. I think one of my affirmations was to tell myself something positive each morning when I woke up, just to kind of start my day off and just believing in myself, and just like trusting myself, trusting my day, trusting my judgment, because that was something that I kind of struggled with before. I was always seeking other people's opinions, and it just wasn't.
And that was
But that's
really
for
just
me,
a
so-
habit, I think, that you got
Yes.
in, that we also worked on.
Yeah.
That I know we did specifically target, is being able
Yeah.
to problem solve, being able to analyze a problem and then create a solution yourself. Because
Yes.
a lot of us, not just Gabby, a lot of us have just gotten into a pattern of, Gabby and I talked about, like, we'll call everybody in our family and ask their opinion, and we end up more confused than ever, right?
Yeah.
And instead of trusting our own judgment after careful examination of the facts.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really good. So one of the lies is that you need everybody else's opinion in order to make a sound decision, right?
Yes, and I really don't.
No.
I started thinking about it once we started, you know, having those conversations. I'm like, I really don't need it unless I'm seeking it, right?
Mhm.
But I don't need your opinion on anything unless I'm like, you know, unless it's in a different scenario where we're like, I'm like, hey Steph, what do you think about this, right? It just, but for the most part, I believe in myself and my worth and my confidence now, to where I'm like, okay, I can solve these issues, I can solve these problems on my own. Just take a deep breath and figure it out, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I know my husband was just working through something recently. Of course, I wanted to add my 2 cents, but I could not. But I reminded him, like, hey, if you get to like the actual problem, there's usually 2 problems. There's usually like a conflict. So it was like with dealing with a customer. And I'm like, if you really get to the nitty gritty, you'll probably find like, well, the customer wants this, but he also wants this, and I'm not sure how to bridge those 2 things. But anyways, it just really helps if you can get to the nitty gritty, like conflict. Where's the conflict? How can I bridge those 2 things? How can I meet those 2 needs?
yes.
Yeah, but that takes being able to like eliminate all of the drama, right? Really good. Okay, so what was your self-image before versus now?
I was afraid of change, and I was like really content in being in my bubble, in my comfort zone. And but I realized that I wasn't growing, I wasn't changing. I was pretty much at a standstill. And you know, for me to really evolve and really have my full potential, I needed to step out of that comfort zone and really try things that I'm not familiar with, and also getting rid of that fear. Like, I was always kind of just like, oh my gosh, what if I don't like it? What if I do, right?
Yeah.
So that was a big one for me, is just changing my mindset, changing my beliefs, because I might end up liking all these things, or people, I don't know, that, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so that was a big one for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of just changing my beliefs for the better, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe your belief before was like, I'm good how I am, or like I'm not willing to face discomfort. I would rather stay small than be uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're somebody who believes like, well, it might be uncomfortable, but I can handle discomfort. Like discomfort is the price I pay for growth.
Yes.
It's not really a price to pay. It's just like the way you get to growth.
Yes.
Now you can handle discomfort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's progress.
Yeah.
And growing.
Yeah. So maybe you even look at discomfort differently.
Yes.
Embrace it.
It's a good thing.
Embrace the
It's
change,
exciting to have
right?
that discomfort kind of once you get to that point. You're like,
Yes.
this is going to be uncomfortable for me, but you know what? All right, go after it and see what happens.
Let's do it.
You know?
Yeah.
I might be awkward or I might embarrass myself, but you know what? I'm excited to see what comes out of it because it could be something good.
Exactly.
And if it's not that great, you know what? You move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's a good feeling.
Well, think about the difference between nervousness and excitement. Really, the only difference I think is the picture in your head, right? Yeah. Because say I think about like my daughter going to a dance competition and she's like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Well, what is she picturing in her head to make her nervous? I mean, I always say like, oh, it's normal to be nervous because I'm not gonna try to coach her on the way to a dance performance. But what if she pictured herself like killing it or up on the podium getting an award? Or wouldn't it be like, oh my God, I'm so excited?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
the only difference is the picture in your head.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to go back and forth, actually. I think that nervousness can be useful, but then also remember, like, but this could happen. So you have a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Is what you guys were describing. That's fun. Good for you. So now you're somebody who embraces discomfort. What else has changed regarding your self-image?
I think, learning to genuinely love myself. I mean, we all say that, right? Like you're supposed to say that because you're not going to want to say, I hate myself. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that I was at that point where I was like I felt like at some points I disliked myself more than I liked myself more, and it all came back to and I know we talked about a lot of comparisons with other people, especially on social media, which I know that not all comparisons are bad, but I would spin it to where it was negative, right? Because I'd be like, oh my goodness, like this person is physically, like they just look fantastic and I'm not where I want to be, and that sort of thing. But now I can say that like I can compare myself to someone else and ask myself, what is it that I like about this person? Do they have a trait that I would want? And if so, then let me take that in and I can work on it.
Yeah.
And use it too.
Yeah.
Right? But not spin it in a way where I'm just like, oh my
Beating
gosh,
yourself up.
like they have these long locks or they, have this,
Yeah.
toned belly or something, So just use it to my advantage.
Yeah.
To where it turns into something really positive for myself, I think.
Good for you. And I think a lot of that self-loathing for people, I don't know if this was your case or true for you, but I think it could come from attaching your self-esteem to your behavior. So, if you're not behaving in ways that get you where you want to go, it's easy to beat yourself up, right?
Yes.
Versus just like, wait a second. Like, no, I'm the person who decides on my behavior. What behavior do I need to choose to get me where I want to go? Which is a much more loving response to bad habits.
Yes.
Than hating yourself, right? That's not
Yeah.
going to get you anywhere.
Exactly. And I almost feel like I don't even know if this is the wrong way to say it, but sometimes it's easier to respond in a negative way than to respond in a positive one, because we've always, it's almost like we're maybe taught that in different ways. I'm not really sure, but I know for me that was the case. It was almost easier to just spill something negative out about me or a situation, versus now I'm trying to breathe in, breathe out, and then because I can control my responses to those situations, versus before I almost felt like I didn't really have as much control as I thought I did. So that's been a good eye-opening experience too. So
that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you. I was thinking about even like parenting, like instead of scolding your child and saying no, like that, like my daughter said something and I'm like, don't talk to me that way. I won't be talked to that way, blah, blah, blah. But then I thought about it and I'm like, no, I'm going to change it around and be like, you don't want to talk to people that way because you won't get them to cooperate. So I changed it like, hey, it's just not in your best interest. It's not that you're good or bad. It's not in your best interest. And if we could talk to ourselves like that, I think it would be so much more useful. Like, no, this doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means it's not going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. Almost like talk to yourself like you're your own best friend. And I read a quote somewhere where it was like, would you speak to yourself, the way you're speaking to yourself, would you speak to others that way? So I was like, you know what, that's kind of right.
Yeah, well, we do talk to others that way. Or like maybe our parents started this whole thing because they're just worried about teaching us right and wrong versus appealing to our own best interest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the whole thing kind of is in that morality good bad split versus just reminding yourself, oh, this isn't going to get me where I want to go.
Right.
Okay, very good, Gabby. This is so fun to watch you, all of these epiphanies. Why should our guests believe that weight loss is possible for them?
I think that it's definitely possible. I will say entering the program, I was a little bit nervous, right? Because it was stepping out of my comfort zone. It was something brand new. But once I got over those jitters, I said, okay. And as we started kind of working through our lessons and in classes, and I started changing my beliefs, changing my mindset, and the way I approach things, I started to see the results that I wanted to see, both physically and mentally. And honestly, right now, I think in the best place that I've been in a long time, and both sides.
So cool.
And so I really think as long as you approach it with a positive attitude and the right mindset, you can do anything you want to do, not just weight loss, right?
That's true. As long as you stay supportive and self-corrective.
Yes.
In a loving way.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
So when you and I first talked on the phone, I know you thought like 115 wasn't even possible for you.
I didn't.
Because I've never done it. I've never been there before, right? And I was like, and so now,
I'm
tell
about
everybody.
2 pounds shy of my original goal weight, right? And so whenever I spoke to you on the phone, I think I said, I'd be content, right?
Yeah.
If I lost 10 pounds. And you're like, why are we just stopping at content? Why not aim for more if that's what you really want, right? So I said, okay, well, let's shoot for 115. But I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I was like, in my mind, I was like, I don't know, just, but I'm 2 pounds shy, so,
and you're only halfway through the program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
So exciting. Really exciting to see all the changes. And
Yeah. I know another breakthrough for you when you really decided you could trust yourself more was during the unit on emotions. And when you really learned to stop and allow your feelings, then you were like, oh my gosh, I see how this could change a lot of things for me because I'm giving myself, I mean, we go through a whole, session on really identifying your emotions and then physically allowing your emotions. But you determined how that's really going to help you be able to trust your decisions.
Yeah.
When you go through that process of like pausing.
Yes.
Identifying your emotions, allowing them, and then pausing.
Yeah. The pausing I think is key for me. Just pause, girl. Yeah. And it's been really eye-opening. I've been, using the technique quite a bit, especially in those one-off situations that kind of catch you off guard sometimes. But I'm like, okay, hold on. And then I like breathe in and breathe out, just to remind myself that I'm in control, right? And how am I going to respond to this situation?
Yeah.
In the best way.
Yeah.
Not just be emotional about it, like, and be a mess.
Yeah. And there will be times that, you forget to identify I was just thinking about last night, and like, oh my God, I just did that last night where I was like reacting without ever stopping and identifying my emotion or what was happening. I actually owe my husband an apology. But yeah, that doesn't mean
it's gonna happen now, I think, right?
Yeah.
I've had so many.
Yeah.
And then later I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you don't get right back on the horse and continue on your journey.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really good. It's so inspiring to watch. Like every time I take a client through the program and watch their transformation, it just becomes more inspiration for me. Oh my gosh, this stuff is amazing. This work is amazing.
Yes.
So good for you.
Thank you. I've learned so much already. Entering it, I didn't know. I mean, I knew it was going to be a positive experience because Stephanie, talked about it as well.
Yeah.
And I trust her judgment. So, but I was kind of entering it just not knowing what to expect because you read a lot of stories out there where it, like, is she going to give me like a nutrition plan and, like these are the foods or, recipes or, what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's become so much more than that.
Yeah.
And it's really evolved in something that's just going to change my life, and I'm just so happy and thankful for both of you guys. It's been a great journey so far.
We're thankful for you.
Yeah, so thankful. And I love getting to hear your story because Lynn, every time I see her, she's like, oh my gosh, have you seen Gabby? Like, she's going through so much transformation, not just on the outside but on the inside. Yeah. And I'm excited I actually got to like hear it. Yeah. And I can relate to so much of this, you guys. Like, I feel like when it comes to a weight loss coach or a nutrition coach, or like listening and looking up advice, people look for like, okay, what specifically do I need to eat? Yes. Or like, how many calories should I be eating? What are my macronutrients? Like, that's like the least important thing on the pyramid of, or like the totem pole of like where the real change is gonna happen. And like, you guys can obviously see like with her testimony, like it's about the mindset.
Yes.
That's what's gonna make the real change happen. Because you can figure out what to eat beyond that, like, and Lynn guides you through like the types of food you should be eating. But it's not that you don't know what to eat, because even some of us, like I have my certifications in nutrition and everything. I knew what to eat. It was the mindset thing, and it's just so cool to see that transformation. Yeah. And I know I talked a little bit about it in the podcast, but seeing Gabby's like full testimony today, I think that's going to be really impactful for people, because that's what makes all the difference.
It really does. It's mind-blowing. If I go back to day one to now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like
it's such a short amount of
change
time
already. So
yes,
yeah, it's
yeah,
awesome.
So again, the things that really have changed for Gabby, her self-communication, her ability to trust herself with her decisions because she understands her emotions more, and she allows them all the way through her body and takes a pause before she makes those decisions. There were some things as far as like understanding the importance of vegetables. You understand it cognitively now from a micronutrient perspective, but you also feel it. And I think one of the things I learned from you, and maybe this will be a tip that other people can use also, is that Gabby eats her vegetables first, which I think is pretty genius. And I have never recommended that to clients before, but maybe I will now. Eat your veggies first, and
just knock them out.
Yeah,
That's smart.
yeah. Well, obviously because they have so much fiber, so they're going to fill you up. But I also believe in the prebiotic components. So they set your gut microbiome up for. They set your internal environment up for proper nutrition. So I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know, the whole thing about us eating a salad before our dinner. There is a method to our madness. It's not really madness, it's wisdom. Words of wisdom from Gabby: eat your veggies first.
That's right.
Yeah.
You won't regret it, I promise.
And I think what's been so fun also, I see this with every client, like about week 3 or 4, they get on camera. We do our meetings via Zoom, and they have this glow about them. I don't know if you've always glowed, but
I don't know, Lynn. Yeah.
You're glowing. Isn't she glowing? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if you want that glow, give me a shout.
That's right.
We can talk about the possibility of you going through my program. All right, Stephanie, do you have anything you would like to ask Gabby?
She covered it so much. I can say I definitely relate to a lot of the things she went through. So it's cool to see that someone else take all those steps. But I mean, what do you feel like the number one most beneficial thing has been for you in this journey? Because I know it surprised me with like how it changed my confidence. It's even outside of all that weight loss and eating and everything. And confidence in myself and the decision making that you spoke about earlier. For me, I would say I trusted myself so much more. So I would say what's your number one thing you didn't expect that you got out of it so far?
My confidence was probably a big one, because I felt like I was confident. Hopefully I'm confident. Confident before, but I still had a lot of self-doubt about myself too. But when I changed my mindset, and changed the way I felt about myself, giving myself grace, right? I feel like I have this positive energy, I hope, for the most part, and I can then that people see that energy, right? And you are what you attract. And so now I'm approaching relationships differently, and I just mean relationships in general, right? Because the relationship I have with myself is the most important, and I didn't really believe that before. I was putting other relationships before that, so now I'm focusing on myself and the relationship I have with myself, and it's just gonna all work out. Because if I'm good, then it should all work out, right?
Your relationship with yourself is really based on how you talk to yourself, right?
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
And then the mindset that these ladies are talking about, I would describe it as really a solution-oriented mindset. I know people are confused, positive. What does positive mean? Well, for me, it means solution-oriented, optimistic. I optimize every situation I'm in. So that's kind of the mindset. Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. I know you're going to join us for our next 2 episodes, so we'll get to hear from you more.
Very excited.
Yeah. And tune in next time for some more. Oh, and please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. If you have any questions for us, our contact information will be in the show notes. And if there's somebody who would benefit from this podcast, please don't hesitate to share it with them so more people can find out about this amazing transformation that is possible for them. And tune in next time for some more Becoming Unstoppable Weight Loss and Fitness.